Welcome to this webinar titled Efficient Berth Management Using a VertiGIS Studio Application. I'm Ruben, GIS consultant at SIGGIS, and this is my second maritime project after researching workflows using S57 ENC data using ArcGIS products. We are SIGGIS. SIGGIS is an acronym for Spatial Intelligence Genuine and Generic IT Solutions, and recently we became part of the Mercator Group. We are a partner and sub-distributor of Esri with maritime experience, such as AIS data like maritime traffic and other live data like camera data, bathymetry, berth management, ENC data, and utility networks. Last webinar, a new pontoon was added to an S57 cell in the port of Zeebrugge. Today we will reuse this pontoon and the study area to showcase our berth management application in which we can manage how, when, and where vessels dock. The application is a web application we built using VertiGIS Studio, meaning no installation is required. This has a lot of advantages. It is cross-platform. It can be opened and used on any device with a browser. No local storage is used. Updates can be pushed without the need of downloading, for example, bug fixes. It is low cost and can support a lot of users. And the application is built using mainly ready-made components, see it as building blocks, meaning it is a low-code solution. The web application is built on an ArcGIS enterprise environment, meaning both the data and the application reside in the enterprise environment. You could do the same in an ArcGIS online environment. Here you can see the application when it is being configured. The app itself is on the left and the configuration on the right. With the components or building blocks, like I called them earlier, we can add them to the application or remove or edit them. Supporting these components underlying, we have VertiGIS workflows, again made of building blocks of ready-made coded components. Together they form a process or workflow that can be executed from our application, for example, using a button. For the demo of today, I will start with a short rundown of the application, then add a berth at our pontoon, add a contract to that berth, and lastly, I will show you another component of the application being building management, in which I will show the Street View component and a batch import of contracts. Here we are in our application. The first button is a project button, in which we can save a project, load a project, or share a project state. It will generate a QR code. When you share this with other users, they open the application in the state you left it at. And in this menu, we can also, for example, switch the theme. And then we have a contract management button, in which we can manage the contracts assigned to the berths. We can show a table with all the contracts, filter them, or add a contract. We will showcase this functionality later on. And then we have a Street View button and a menu to edit infrastructure. For example, add a berth to which we can assign contracts. And then map configuration. In this menu, we can toggle some map features. For example, an address component, as you see in the bottom right corner. This component displays the address of the location of your pointer. And you have a similar functionality for coordinates, displaying the coordinates of the location of your pointer. And we can change our base map. By default, we have a custom-made base map for our application, but we can also use OpenStreetMap base map or an imagery base map. Then lastly, in Map Tools, I will show you the Measure tool and measure a berth. But I will do this with snapping on. We can measure line segments, but if we draw a polygon, we can also measure the area. let's get to work and digitize our new bird. I will import a shapefile of this bird and have it as a temporary layer. Then to digitize the bird in our data, I will edit infrastructure and create an object and use snapping on the temporary layer. Once we have the geometry of our new bird, the application asks to fill in some attribute values. So let's give this bird a number 105. Yeah. When digitizing, you also have other options like set shapes such as a circle. So let's add a circular bird to our data and give it the attribute values. Then we can not only create objects, but also edit their geometry and attributes. So let's edit the circular bird we just added. You can edit the vertices of the geometry. Or rotate the feature. And as you can see, a little geometry toolbar on the left showed up. In this we have options such as precision mode, I'm using now, and snapping again. And we can, of course, edit attribute values of the feature. But let's not pollute our data and delete this circular bird. For our bird contracts, in our contract table, we have some fictional demo data of contracts mostly from around the 2nd of March. We can also filter the contracts. Let's filter on the bird, number 107, and we will see we have 2 contracts assigned to 107 in 2 different time frames. We can also filter on the vessel, for example, the Asturias. And we will see the Asturias has 2 contracts, so 2 visits to our port in the data. But we can, of course, also make a combination of attributes in our filtering. So let's filter on bird number 103 and the Asturias, and we'll only see the contract of Asturias at number 103. Then, of course, we have time filters. So we can check whether a bird is occupied in a certain time frame or not. Let's check if bird number 108 is free in the time frame of 9 AM on March 2nd to 2 PM that same day. So we select 9 AM as start time on the 2nd of March. And then 2 PM on the 2nd of March as end time. But as you can see, the bird is occupied by the MOL proficiency, which arrives at this bird at 1 PM that day. So let's change our filters to 9 AM till 12 PM, and we can see now the bird is free. For the bird at our new pontoon, we will have the Fineco tree dock here. Let's see if it's already in our data. And we can see it has already visited the port, but at berth number 101. Now let's add a single contract for the Fineco tree in berth number 105. So we fill in this data of contract ID, vessel name being Fineco tree, berth ID number 105, we just digitized, and a time frame. And we can see the contract is added to the map, but let's also check our table. And here it is in our table. Lastly, there is a button on the toolbar we remain silent on. It is a mode switcher. Behind our berth management application, we have a building management application as well. So let's switch to buildings. Similar to berths, we can assign building contracts or lease contracts to buildings. We right now have some demo data in the application. So let's check some of these buildings. This little cluster here that has no contracts assigned to them. And let's use another component of our application we didn't showcase yet, the Street View component, and check these buildings in Street View. And we see these buildings are being leased by P&O Ferries. So we will add their contracts to our contract table for the buildings, but we will not add them one by one, but use a batch import. For this batch import, we use a CSV file. I already prepared such CSV file with the contracts for P&O Ferries. This is what the prepared CSV looks like, with the contract data filled in the appropriate fields. When we feed the CSV file to the application, it will read every line separately and add the contracts one by one. As you can see, we have the 3 P&O contracts from the CSV batch imported in our contract table. The application we showcased is a basic framework for berth and building management, and is still expandable with new functionalities based on the needs. Its design is fully customizable in style, language, layout, and more. The application is interoperable with all ArcGIS layers, whether it be other berth or building layers from different ports, custom base maps, or other layers from completely different teams. And with the efficient batch import tool, we can easily migrate tabular data from other applications to our application. So this was our berth management application. If you have any questions, remarks, or feedback, feel free to reach us at info@siggis.be. And I'd like to thank you for watching.